Meeting of the Bucks County Commissioners, January 4th, 2021 to order. And we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I would ask our Director of Security, Chris Daly, if he could lead us in the pledge today.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Good morning. Do we have any row officers here? We have the coroner. Any? Say hello. I don't think there's anybody else.
Happy New Year.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us today. We are in, less people than we would like to have because of the pandemic, and obviously we are masked up because of it. But we're grateful to have everybody watching today. Do you want to do the swearing in now? Mr. Connor, do you want to wait?
I think we had planned to do the...
After the public comments? Okay.
First, yep.
Are there any public comments? This would be on agenda items.
There are none online, Commissioner.
Are there any agenda item comments here? Okay. So this is the first meeting of the year, so we could reorganize the board, but I am wondering if there would be a motion to maintain the current composition of the board and positions.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. So we can stay organized. And now we'll do that. Now the presentation, the administration of oath to the Assistant County Solicitor by the Honorable Juan R. Sanchez, Chief Judge, United States District Court for the Eastern District of Pennsylvania. Mr. Khan?
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner, Happy New Year, first of all.
Thank you.
To everyone here.
Happy New Year.
It's a privilege to introduce to the board the Honorable Juan R. Sanchez, who is the Chief Judge of the Eastern District of Pennsylvania. The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is divided into 3 federal districts. The Eastern District is very substantial. It includes Philadelphia, the surrounding counties, the Lehigh Valley, Lancaster, and Judge Sanchez, who I think today is celebrating his anniversary as his 23rd year as a judge. He has been the chief judge, maybe the first Latino chief judge of the district, going into his 3rd year now, and has served on that court with distinction since 2004. Judge Sanchez had a long and successful career prior to that in private practice and also with the Public Defender's Office in Chester County. Like many who appeared before Sanchez, it is always an education to practice before the judge, who has a really strong reputation for getting the best lawyers, getting people to sort of do their best work in his courtroom, and that's reflected also in his clerks and his teaching assistants and the people that have served the judge more directly. And that's really what brings us here today, Commissioners. Judge Sanchez is here to administer the oath of office to our newest Assistant County Solicitor, who is Rachel Thompson. And so we are delighted to welcome Rachel both to county government and also to Bucks County. She's a native of Ambler and is moving into Doylestown to begin her new position this month. I will leave it to Judge Sanchez to speak more about Rachel and her outstanding qualifications, but I will say more broadly that hiring Rachel is really part of our larger effort to raise the professional bar of legal services here in the county. We've been building a team that sort of reflects the professionalism and the integrity and the commitment to public service that this board has stressed as a top priority for those of us who have the privilege of serving, and Rachel fits right there. Among the areas of her practice here in the county, she's going to be focusing quite a bit on health services and supporting the great work the county does there, as well as in human services. She's also helping us start to bring in-house quite a bit of the employment litigation that the county for years has been outsourcing. She is also here with her parents, who will accompany her when she comes up to receive the oath, Ross and Joy. They themselves are public servant attorneys. I actually have had the the privilege and pleasure of knowing Rachel's father, Ross, for many years, both through our work in the federal courts and as members of the adjunct faculty at Penn Law, which actually I believe His Honor is an alum of. So without further ado, if we could ask Chief Judge Sanchez and the Thompson family to come up.
You can come up. Good morning. Did you want to introduce your family before you take the oath?
It's an honor for me to introduce the Thompson family, Ross Thompson, Rachel Thompson's father, and Joy Thompson. And commissioners, thank you for the opportunity to appear before you to administer the oath of office to one of your new employees, Assistant Solicitor Rachel Thompson. I think, as you already know, Rachel has a very special connection to my chambers and the work in our federal court. Having spent the first summer following her first year of law school in my chambers, and I challenged her and put her to task and gave her some very complicated cases to handle, and she distinguished herself with her legal research, her analytical abilities and judgment. And also I learned a little bit about her passion for public service. So I could attest to the fact that Rachel is going to be an excellent and outstanding assistant solicitor for Bucks County. She brings energy, she brings a delightful personality and diligence that is unparalleled to many of the law clerks that have appeared through my chambers. So when I learned that she was going to leave private practice to come and work in the public sector as an assistant solicitor, I was delighted. And I was delighted with Joe Kahn, who I know for the last 17 years as an assistant United States attorney, who's now the solicitor for Bucks County. When he told me that he was contemplating hiring her, I basically encouraged her to do so because I think she will serve the county solicitor's office with honor and distinction. And I'm also extraordinarily satisfied that she's going to follow in her parents' footsteps, who are federal public employees. Her father is a federal public defender who has appeared in front of me many times. And her mother, Joy Thompson, works with the Securities Exchange Commission. So I'm really delighted that she's following the steps on the path of public service, which is similar to the path I took to the bench. So without any further delay, and thank you for the courtesy, I'm going to administer the oath of office to your newest assistant solicitor, Rachel Thompson. So would you please raise your right hand and place your left hand on the Bible and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and that I will discharge the duties
and that I will discharge the duties
of my office with fidelity.
of my office with fidelity.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you for allowing us to keep up this important tradition of administering the oath, and welcome, Rachel. It's a pleasure to meet your parents as well.
Thank you very much.
Happy New Year. This is a good way to start. So we will move on to the consent agenda for today. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes the minutes of December 16th, 2020, December 23rd, 2020, and items 1 through 14?
So moved?
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any questions or comments on the consent agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, moving on to the regular agenda. I'm going to begin by reading everything on number 15, but I will say that we have Jeff Fields from our housing department here. And when I'm done reading all these, he'll be open to any questions and can tell us a little bit about the eviction prevention program we've been working on through the pandemic and any homelessness experiences that we have been dealing with during the pandemic. So to begin with, under Housing and Community Development, we have a contract for advocates for the homeless and those in need in the amount of $52,350, a contract from 2020 CDBG funding to support shelters during the Code Blue events needed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Also, for advocates for the homeless of Upper Bucks County, a contract from the 2020 CDBG funding to support shelters during Code Blue events in the amount of $20,191. A contract with ATM Marketing Services to approve an extension to provide marketing services to increase participation in housing programs needed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Contract with the Bucks County Housing Group, and this is with 2020 CDBG funding to administer the eviction prevention program needed due to COVID-19 in the amount of $495,414.85. Contract with the Bucks County Opportunity Council, approving a contract with 2020 CDBG funding to administer the eviction prevention financial assistance program due to COVID-19 in the amount of $604,834. Another contract with the Bucks County Opportunity Council, also from the 2020 CDBG funding to provide interim sheltering and supportive housing services needed due to the COVID-19 pandemic in the amount of $130,000. Contract with the Coalition to Shelter and Support the Homeless in Doylestown from 2020 CDBG funding to support shelters during the Code Blue events needed in the COVID-19 pandemic in the amount of $44,014.15. We continue a contract with the Credit Counseling Center in Richboro. We are approving a contract extension to provide foreclosure, prevention, counseling, and emergency mortgage assistance needed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Contract with Family Service Association of Bucks County, also from 2020 CDBG funding to provide sheltering in hotels and motels due to limited capacity in shelters needed due to the COVID-19 pandemic in the amount of $231,810. Contract extension with the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development for the 2019 Emergency Solutions Grant to fund housing locator activities, rental and financial assistance, and housing stability case management services. And this will run through from March 27th through May 26, 2021. A contract with S&T Bank in Lancaster to approve the subordination and in-creditor agreement for the Sellersville Senior Apartments, LLC project. And finally, with the YWCA of Bucks County, Trevose, approving a contract from the 2020 CDBG funding to provide eviction prevention, financial assistance services needed due to the COVID-19 pandemic in the amount of $331,049. So, if you wanted to discuss A through L or any part in there, Jeff Fields, if you'd like to come up, we'd love to hear a little bit about it, especially what we're doing to prevent eviction. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks, Commissioners. A lot of different contracts on the agenda here, but the focus is on the CDBG funding that provides the ability to help Bucks households with the rental arrears, as well as potentially some months of ongoing assistance, depending on their ability to support the rent after assistance is provided. We've been providing assistance through a previous funding source, the CARES Act, until the end of this year. This just represents a shift onto a new stream of funding, which is the federal CDBG money that the county receives. There's also some other contracts on here that represent CDBG funding that's not typical because the additional CDBG money provided to the county has some waivers that allow us to use it more for public services than normal. As a result, we're supporting our Code Blue providers who provide unsheltered housing during extreme weather events, cold weather events. So all three of them were providing additional assistance around staffing, PPE, and expenses that they will have, increased expenses they will have as a result of the pandemic. I would remind folks that for eviction prevention, you should be calling the Housing Link, which is 1-800-810-4434. That's 800-810-4434. We have the call center operating Monday through Friday until 7:30 p.m. except for Tuesday nights when it's until 4:30 p.m. And also we have hours on Saturday and Sunday as well, so folks can call. And that begins the process of looking at eligibility for rental assistance. I should also mention that the new stimulus bill did provide some additional funding for rental assistance that hasn't trickled down to the local level yet, but we are anticipating that in addition to this funding, there might be other funding to help with eviction prevention in the near future. And again, as we find out more about how that's going to work from the federal level down, we'll be providing updates.
Thank you. Questions?
Do we have an idea, first off, that this is clearly one of the things that has been the focus of people across the country, the fact that you have so many people still out of work or if not unemployed, they're underemployed, concerns about making rent, concerns about, making their mortgage payments. And there was a fear that, without action in Washington, which we got sort of at the last minute, that a lot of people could have lost this kind of protection. But now you've been working on this obviously all year in terms of trying to help people. Do we have an idea of how many families we've managed to provide support for to keep them in their homes or apartments over this the past year?
Yeah, so we've used multiple streams of funding to do that, and some of them have been through the state, which we don't track as closely because it's through a different stream. But we estimate around 500 to 600 households we've been able to avoid eviction for them since we really started the project at a higher level in July. And we're hoping to help even more. So we are, just trying to, at this point, prioritize, who needs the help the most, and make sure that we can help those folks. To your point, Commissioner, the legislation extended at the 11th hour the CDC moratorium. So that means that if you are being evicted, you can fill out a declaration of your circumstances, which includes things like that you have searched for assistance, you've attempted to pay your rent. There's a declaration. It's available on our website. The Housing Link can also point people to it, but it's right on the front page of our website. And that declaration is the first step that you would give to your landlord, which would then prevent an order of possession being filed, which is when the sheriff is going to have to forcibly remove people from their homes. It does not necessarily stop the filing of an eviction, the complaint that would then establish that you would owe money. So we're again encouraging folks that are in any situation where a landlord has filed or to be sure to call the Housing Link. If you're a landlord listening to this, the best thing is to encourage your tenants to call. We do need to collect eligibility information, so we want to speak to tenants directly and try to assist them as much as we can. Right now, that moratorium was extended for 1 additional month, so until the end of January. And again, it is a moratorium that does rely on you filling out a declaration to be effective. If you don't do anything, you can still be evicted if you don't fill it out.
Thank you.
Do you want to repeat that number one more time? 1-800-3?
800-810-4434 is the Housing Link number, and that's for any housing crisis in the county, eviction prevention, as well as anyone experiencing homelessness. That's the number to call to get the appropriate service, whether it's someone from our street outreach team who works with those that are unsheltered or those that are experiencing a housing crisis where they could lose their housing.
Commissioner?
Yeah, I just want to share a story with everybody, but to show you how this really works. I mean, a short time ago, I got kind of like a panic call from somebody I knew who had a good friend who I don't think he had been evicted, had been living with somebody, and he wasn't able to live there anymore. He wasn't working, didn't have any money, and he was going to end up on the street homeless. And as it was explained to me, it was like a life and death situation for this gentleman. And I immediately got on the call, got a hold of Jeff. I think it was actually over the weekend, and he picked up the call, answered it, started working on it right away. And I think within a day's time, he had found a place for him, a placement for him. And the friend who had called me said, thank you. I mean, you saved this gentleman's life. So these programs work. And again, not everybody in Bucks County lives in a $500,000 house. There is a lot of need in Bucks County for housing, for homelessness, for people that are hungry, for all kinds of problems. And the money that we're putting into these programs, it works. It puts families and people's lives back together, and it makes a difference in our community. So I just wanted to thank Jeff and your staff, Jeff, everybody that you work with. Thank you for the good work that you're doing.
Thank you. And you said 500 people you may have helped. I'm sure it's higher than that by the time this is over, but a lot of people would not think in Bucks County there's that many people that were struggling to the point of eviction. So thank you for being there and your perseverance in it. If there's no other questions, is there a motion to approve number 15, A through L?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. And keep up the good work. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
And moving to the Planning Commission, number 16, we have one item. This is A with Fisher Broyles LLP out of Yardley. Approve a termination of outside counsel fee agreement for the Planning Commission solicitor and transfer of the solicitor duties to the Bucks County Law Department. This is effective January 22nd. And I'm thinking we have Tom Jennings, if Tom wanted to come forward and tell us a little bit about why this is a good thing, or even why it's happening. Good morning, Happy New Year.
Good morning, Commissioners. The position of solicitor to the Planning Commission had existed for many, many years. And the Planning Commission, as you know, is really an extension of the Office of Commissioners. It's not a separate authority. And it seemed that when the Office of the Solicitor, the county solicitor, had matured, had been reorganized a little bit, that the work of the Planning Commission, legal work, would best be served inside the office of the county solicitor. So as we saw earlier this morning, Joe has another assistant solicitor in addition to those who are there currently. In the past number of months, I've worked with members of his staff relative to transitioning, a word that seems to be attached to some of us, that work to the office of county solicitor. So as a result of that, it's certainly my strong recommendation, and I believe the solicitors, that we don't need the position of solicitor to the Planning Commission as a separate outside law firm, but rather the work could be handled most efficiently and very effectively within the office of county solicitor. And that's really what this is about, with one other dimension. The work of the Planning Commission is very important work. And the staff is very professional, very well experienced. The director is an outstanding director, in my view. That whole group is one where they would work very well within the confines of the county solicitor office for their legal requirements. It's a well-organized planning commission, and those who are on the staff are well acquainted with the legal authorities that govern most of what they do. And it seemed like a very good match, as well as a savings of a few dollars to the county to move this function to the office of solicitor.
Thank you.
Well,
Any questions?
No, thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions, anybody? Okay. Is there a motion to approve 16?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We have one budget adjustment, number 23. Mr. Buscola.
Thank you, Commissioners. For your consideration, adjustment number 23 for the Hazmat Department would recognize revenue received in regards to two major incidents in Lower Bucks in 2020. This would recognize the revenue and allow for the expenses to cover those two incidents. That will impact the general fund.
Any questions on this? Okay. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of approving budget adjustment number 23? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thanks. Okay. Moving on to personnel actions. We have a number of personnel actions today. Is there a motion to approve these?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any questions about anything on the personnel list? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, that passes. We have board appointments today. Commissioner Harvey?
Yeah, we have a lot of boards have terms which expire around the first of the year or the end of December, and so we have a lot of appointments, many of them actually reappointments. Obviously, board members all have, commissioners all have copies of this. So for the Area Agency on Aging, we have 4 individuals whose terms are up, and they have asked to be reappointed, and the Area Agency on Aging here in the county has requested that they be reappointed to 3-year terms. So Jane Fox Lacker, Patsy Long, Laura Prost, Tammy Lee Mancuso. I'll make a motion to, I'll do these bit by bit, make a motion to appoint those 4 individuals to the Area Agency on Aging Advisory Council for a 3-year term.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The Community College Authority is a 5-year term reappointment. This would be an appointment, rather, for Mr. William Appleton. I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now, the Conservation District, Mr. Dwight Ely, as a reappointment, term to end on December 31st, 2024. I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You want to take this one?
Yes, I think I will. On number 4, there's an appointment to the Delaware Valley Regional Finance Authority for a 1-year term. For,
It should be a 5-year. There was.
oh, it should be 5-year, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. 5-year term, and that goes to Bob Harvey, our commissioner, and I'd like to make a motion that we approve that.
And I'll second that. And all those in favor? Aye.
I'll abstain from that.
No
Thank you, appreciate that.
opposition. Thank you. Thank you for serving.
Thank you. Would you like to do the next one, too?
Yes. Item number 5, a reappointment to the Industrial Development 5-year term for Mary Smithson. The term ends on 1/1/26. I'd like to make a motion that Mary Smithson be reappointed.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Back to you, Bob.
We did have an individual who was on our library board who resigned recently, and so there is a term that will expire on 11/1/2022, and I'll make a motion for Jonathan Panofsky to fill that term on the library board.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. The Mental Health Developmental Programs Advisory Board, these are 3-year terms. Again, these are reappointments. Ms. Diana Santoro, Dr. Malcolm Burgess, and Dr. Hyung Un. I'll make a motion to reappoint. All will expire on January 4th, 2024.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
To the Bucks County Opportunity Council, Jacob Iampietro, 3-year term will expire December 31st, 2023.
That's a motion?
Yes, sir, it's a motion.
Is there,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
For the Planning Commission, we have 3 seats that are available. I'll make a motion for Mr. Ed Tukmajian, Mr. James Keenan, and Mr. Tom Jennings for 4-year terms to end 1/1/2025.
Is there a second?
Could I comment on
Sure.
the motion, Madam Chair?
Sure.
Yes. One of the gentlemen who's coming off the Planning Commission, his name is Ed Kisselback. He has served on the commission for 20 years. And I know Ed took his job very seriously. As a matter of fact, through the years, I know he was involved in many that really helped improve the quality of life for the residents here in Bucks County. So I'm going to vote for the new appointments. I know the 3 gentlemen, but I would just like to recognize the good work that Ed Kisselback, who actually lives in Ben Salem, the good work he did the last 20 years working on the Planning Commission.
That was a short,
Oh,
certainly
that'll-
dedication that he has shown all those years.
Yep. So I'll second the motion.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay.
For the St. Mary Hospital Authority, a 5-year term, I'll make an appointment for Ms. Anna Payne for a term that'll end December 31st, 2025.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
And finally, for the Workforce Development Board, there is a 3-year term available for, a seat available rather, for the representative of a Class A business. And I'll make a motion to appoint Ms. Jean Pedoni, who is president of Penn Community Bank, to that seat, which will end 1/1/2024.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
That's it, thank you.
Thank you very much for that. That's a lot for today. We are on to other civics. Anybody have any other civics they want to bring up?
Yeah, I do have some.
Okay.
For the Red Cross, I'll make a motion. I have 6 of these, so I'll just do them all at once.
Okay.
All right. So for the Red Cross, a $1,000 contribution. To Animal Lifeline, a $1,000 contribution. To the SPCA, a $5,000 contribution. To the League of Women Voters, a $1,200 contribution. To Living Grin, a $1,500 contribution. And to SCORE, a $2,500 contribution.
Okay. Those are all regular annual contributions. I would add a $2,500 contribution to Rolling Harvest and a $2,000, this is also annual, to the Peace Center for their Teen Youth Peace and Justice program that they do in just a couple weeks. Is there a second for all of those?
Second.
Okay. Do we need to, did you get them all, Dave, or, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Terrific. All right, we start a new year there. Now we'll have our report from our Chief Operating Officer, Margie McKevitt.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good morning, everyone. First, I just want to wish everybody a happy and healthy new year. We made it through. However, we are still managing the pandemic. And while the governor has lifted some restrictions, county staff are still expected to telework where possible. So please continue to contact the departments and the row offices you need services from for direct appointments during this time. I would also like to report that the county will begin to offer COVID-19 PCR testing beginning January 11th. We will conduct testing 7 days a week, 9 hours a day, and it will go for a duration of 21 days. Right now, the sites that we've identified where this will take place are the Delaware Valley University. We are still working out the logistics of that site. We hope that we'll be able to have that site for the duration of the 21 days, but we may need to switch it because the students will be coming back to school. We will also offer it at the Bucks County Community College in the Upper Bucks campus, and that will be entering on the Blooming Glen Road entrance, and the Lower Bucks campus at 1304 Veterans Highway in Bristol Township. The testing, as I said, will be daily. The hours of operation for each of the sites are, so the Upper Bucks Community College is 10 a.m. to 7, Delaware Valley is 10 a.m. to 7. However, the Lower Bucks site, we've shifted the timeframes to accommodate for food distribution by the Opportunity Council. So Sunday through Thursday from 10 to 7 p.m., Friday from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m., and Saturday from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. And what you need to bring is, of course, your face mask, your cell phone. If you don't have a cell phone, don't worry, they'll be able to accommodate you. And then your insurance information if you have it. Although you don't need insurance to get a test, if you have it, please bring it with you. We hope that these sites, we will flip these sites and turn them into vaccination sites in the future. As most folks know, the federal government rolled out the vaccines to the states in December, and the state distributed them to the hospitals and long-term care facilities in Bucks County in mid-December as part of the state's Phase 1 vaccination plan. Our planning staff has also developed a vaccination portal page on the county's website where this information is housed and will be housed in the future. In addition, the county has partnered with area hospitals and Wood Services in Langhorne to administer vaccines to EMS providers. If you are an EMS provider and have not received an email invitation to sign up to get a vaccination, it is coming. The county's Emergency Health Services Department is managing the vaccination plan for the county for the EMS providers and is contacting the providers directly as the vaccination becomes available. If you have any questions, please send an email to bcehs@buckscounty.org or call the office at 215-340-8735. And lastly, on behalf of all of our county staff, I want to congratulate the Board of Commissioners on completing their first year together in county government. In what we all knew would be a transition year, we didn't know that we would also be managing a worldwide pandemic. You've accomplished many, many great things, and especially a lot of the recommended goals of the transition team. We thank you for your continued guidance and support and look forward to continuing the work of the transition team's recommended goals in the coming year. Thank you.
Thank you. And Solicitor's report?
Thank you. Commissioner, if it's all right with you, I'd like to yield my time this morning to our Director of Consumer Protection, Mike Bannon, to talk about some of the great work happening here in the county.
That would be terrific. Welcome, Mr. Bannon. Happy New Year.
Thank you very much. Happy New Year to the commissioners and the viewers out there. Joe, thank you for allowing me a little bit of time here. I wanted to bring to the attention to the viewers and the commissioners of a recent experience that I had, not work-related experience, but I felt the need to come share this with everybody. Unfortunately, about 2 days before the Christmas holiday, I received a phone call from a long-term friend of mine, and it was a tough phone call. I could clearly tell that my friend was in quite a state of distress. There was a lot of problems. This person, really good people, has had many tragedies strike their lives, more than, it's just unspeakable what's happened to this person over the years. However, they're a good and strong person. But clearly, they were in a crisis. And what I remembered as I was in the crisis, talking to this person on the phone is, what am I gonna do? I was thinking, what can I do to help my friend through this situation? And I recalled the Ben Salem co-responder pilot program that recently started up. So I pretty much knew at that point in time what I should do, and I called the Ben Salem Police Department, who responded immediately. And I'm happy to say, the next day, it took some while, I had some anxiety that night before it went through, but the next day, that these co-responders that went down were very, very successful in dealing with my friend's immediate situation and problem they were dealing with. And I'm really pleased to say today that my friend is now getting long-needed help that is overdue, and we've had some improvement. It's still a long road to go, a lot of obstacles to have, but this is clearly a success of the co-responder program that I know when it was implemented had a little bit of controversy, but this works. I'll tell you what, I think it's a win for the police department. It's a win for residents of Bucks County, the social workers that went out there. This is a great program. I personally have experienced the success of this program, and I'm very grateful for it. So I just wanted to steal a few minutes of your time to say that publicly, because I think it's important that this program continues to grow, which I know is the goal here, and helps the residents of Bucks County. It's a great program. Thank you, Commissioners.
Mike, thank you for keeping your friend on the phone, for looking for help. I mean, that's a huge thing, and you're a role model to everyone out there. It's important that we all do that. It's interesting to me that, your memory was jogged, that this was, someone you could call at that time, that you could call those co-responders. And it just shows, too, that any of us could end up needing them at any time.
Oh, you're absolutely right. So anybody could do that. So I'm really grateful for my friend. But selfishly, I'm also grateful for me because I had a resource. And quite frankly, it was relieving and self-gratifying now to see this person getting the help that they need. So it's a success. And thank you for the implementation to the Ben Salem Police Department that's been working on that, the commissioners and the people that had the vision to put that together. I have much hope in the future for this program. I think it'll work out just fine.
Me too. Anybody else?
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Could I just add one thing?
Sure.
Even though this is not part of this program, the Central Bucks Regional Task Force has hired 2 social workers recently. So
Yes, to social, and I think that's fantastic. So this is important stuff as we move in this direction. Really a good support system to take the heat off of a lot of the agencies that have to respond to this thing or any kind of problem that they have. And it clearly helps to have the person that's trained in that kind of work to show up and to deal with those kind of problems. So thank you again to the commissioners. Thank you, Joe, for giving me a few minutes of your time this morning.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Mike.
And Commissioner comments. Commissioner DiGirolamo, anything to share today?
Yeah, just a couple minutes, if I could.
Sure.
I saw an article last week that said, and I know this isn't a county issue, but it said that 20 states on the 1st of January this year were going to raise the minimum wage in their state. Now, I realize that this might not be talking about this because of the struggles that businesses are going through right now. So I understand that. But for years, when I was up in Harrisburg, I had been an advocate for raising the minimum wage here in Pennsylvania. We are in Pennsylvania at the minimum federal level, which is $7.35, which has been in place since 2009. So I think if you look at that $7.35 back in 2009, it's about $5 and some cents now that people are actually making. So I think it's time that we raise the minimum wage in Pennsylvania. And again, not right now, not while the pandemic is going on and businesses are suffering, I think, but at maybe a later point in the year when things start to get back to more normal. And I know there's a lot of people who want to raise it up to $15 an hour. And probably if I had my way, I'd be okay with that. But I realize how things work in the legislature. So we're at $7.35. Some people want to make it 15, so I'm sure there's a place somewhere between those two figures in the middle that we should be able to agree upon. And I think the sad part about this is that even before the pandemic, when we were talking about doing that, if we could have got a bill up before the legislature that was somewhere reasonable, $9, $10 an hour, something like that, 10, there was a reasonable number, not the 15, but somewhere in the middle. If we could have got a bill up for a vote, I would guarantee you that there were plenty of votes on both sides of the aisle to raise that minimum wage. But we could just, for some reason, we could just never get anybody to bring the bill up for the vote in the House. So I would just like, and again, after this pandemic is over, I would like to maybe think about at some point in time later in the year, maybe us doing a resolution, maybe even a letter, to the governor and maybe the leaders in the House and the Senate, asking them to very respectfully consider raising the minimum wage here in Pennsylvania. I think it's way past time that we do it. We're one of the few states, and I don't know how many there are. I think there still might be like 18 or 20 that are still at the minimum federal level of $7.35 an hour. But I think we could structure a bill and an agreement, and it would be a compromise to raise the minimum wage. Maybe there might be like a training wage for people under the age of 18. But we could structure something that the business community would be okay with. And I really do believe that. So just one of the things I wanted to bring up because I did see the article. And again, it's not a county issue. It's a state issue. But I think the counties and the county commissioners, could try to really push this a little bit with our legislature. Okay.
Yeah, I look
Thank you,
forward to
Madam
our doing that as things come down, advocating for that, and I hope you'll bring it back up.
Chair. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Harvey?
Sure, thank you. I just want to wish everybody a Happy New Year. We certainly deserve a better 2021 after the year of 2020, but it was talking a little bit earlier to Commissioner DiGirolamo about the fact that on this day a year ago, this room was a lot more crowded, and there were drummers up here in the front, right in front of the dais, because it was the swearing in of the 3 commissioners as well as the other row officers who were elected in 2019. And certainly it's as Commissioner, or as gave Margie a demotion, as our COO Margie McKevitt said, it certainly has been an interesting year. But I think one of the things that occurred to us about a year ago, I guess, we were sort of discussing, the 3 commissioners were talking about just things in general, and it occurred to us that Commissioner DiGirolamo coming on as a new commissioner, myself as a new commissioner, no one could remember the last time there was a change in terms of 2 brand new commissioners coming in at the same time. There usually was sort of one commissioner was new, but the other 2 had been there for some stretch of time. And so we looked, and it was actually in the one meeting room we have, conference room upstairs, there's a photograph back, I don't know when it was taken, probably the early 90s, of a lot of current and former county commissioners all together. Commissioner Warren is in the picture, along with Commissioner Fitzpatrick, Commissioner Miller, Commissioner Martin, and a lot of others. And we were looking at it thinking that this is really sort of unusual circumstance to have only one experienced commissioner and 2 people coming in who really didn't know as much about the job. Commissioner DiGirolamo, of course, had a lot of experience, tremendous experience at the state level. My experience was really on the municipal level. And so combining that fact with the fact that within a few weeks we were looking for a new COO, that we also had a brand new solicitor, that we had a new chief clerk, but someone who at least had a lot of experience at the county level. A lot of the weight of running this county fell to Commissioner Marseglia. Because, if I was something I didn't know, I, of course, went to her and asked. If something, Commissioner DiGirolamo didn't know, he went to Commissioner Marseglia and asked. And there were definitely times when, certainly Mr. Khan and Ms. McKevitt were going to Commissioner Marseglia and asking questions, and Ms. Humphrey as well. And so really, over this past year, I really want to thank Commissioner Marseglia for carrying so much of the weight of the operations of this county as a lot of us were fumbling around trying to figure out, which buttons did what, and when we pushed them, what happened if this happened, and so and it's something that doesn't get a lot of attention, and certainly I want to thank her for everything she's done. There are a lot of people in this county who work very, very hard. We saw that during the election. We see it every day in the Board of Health. We see it in emergency services, but we, because they've gotten the attention this year, but it's really throughout this county operation. So, wishing everybody a much happier 2021, much more, relaxed, and hopefully at some point we can have a room with more people and none of us have to wear masks anymore. But I know we're all looking forward to that. But in looking back, I also want to thank Commissioner Marseglia for her leadership over the last year.
That was really too kind of you. Thank you very much. This was really quite easy because there's people like you, Commissioner DiGirolamo, Ms. McKevitt, so many people out there that have just made this an easy year. However, I could really use an easy 2021 with, out an election that has a problem, without pandemics and all of those things. I just wanted to briefly say, this is a time to look forward, but also a little bit backward. And I am focused on that transition team report that we had put together last year. Tom Jennings was here. You heard him speak earlier. He was the head of that transition team, so it's appropriate that he's here. That was designed as an ongoing plan, a blueprint with a goalpost, but not to necessarily be accomplished within 1 year. But a year later, I'm happy to say that despite the pandemic, we accomplished some of the goals, but actually because of the pandemic, we were able to accomplish some of the goals. The pandemic did help us make sure that we got our there to you so that you can, because of that, to start to digitize all of our documents and to start an electronic signature process. One of the transition team's suggestions was that we help staff learn to work virtually from home, and thanks to the pandemic, we have been able to do that. I'm also happy that we were able to begin the expansion of Bucks County and the nursing home. And I'm happy to say that we are continuing to look at our county staff and making sure that it's an adequate staff, but also that our procedures and our policies increase tolerance and diversity here and throughout the county. So just to say what my goals are going to be for the transition as we go into 2021, I hope that this is going to be the perfecting of interdepartmental. That's the one thing I'd hope when we come back a year from now is done. This is the year of no wrong door here. We're going to be streamlining things so residents have easy access to county services. And my personal favorite goal of the year is the mental health court, to have that by the end of the year and to have an 85% reduction in those with mental illness that are being sent to our jail. So I hope we can do all that, and I thank my colleagues for helping with that in the year to come. And if there isn't anything else from the commissioners, we'll have brief public comment. Commissioner Warren. This thing is so annoying.
Thank you. Just real quick, congratulations to you all making it first year. I had a question about 15A to L for clarification, not for anything else. Certainly, I have no question about the organization, the Housing Group Opportunity Council, Family Services, wonderful organization. I understand there is a uniqueness to this year with COVID. My question is not for any of that. My question is about the funding. CDBG, the Community Development Block Grant, we get them every year, right? I know we get them every year. So my question is, was this roughly $1 million+ for A to L? Is that money in addition to our block grant due to the COVID? If it weren't for COVID, would we not have received that funding? That's the question.
Okay. Jeff, I don't know if you want to take that one on. We did get more because of that, but you're going to know the exact numbers of how that went.
Yes, the CARES Act in March included provisions for CDBG and ESG-CV funding. This is an additional allocation, as I mentioned. The CDBG funding wouldn't be eligible for this much public service, but this particular stream of funding waived the public service caps so that you can use it for things like homelessness, eviction response. We're also using it for training programs for displaced workers and things like that. So this is not all of the contracts, this is just some of them. More will be coming, and some have already passed as we have started to deploy this funding. And the total amount, I believe, for CDBG was around $4 million, and ESG was $2 million. So there is additional money.
Is it additional money
Yes.
or additional ways to use the money?
It's additional money.
Both, though.
Yeah, it's additional money.
Additional money, but
The
they
county
didn't.
received its normal allocation of CDBG funding. None of these contracts are that funding, or at least I don't think. They're all CDBG-CB, which is an additional allocation of CDBG money from the CARES Act.
So we got 4 million usually, we got 4 million plus whatever it is, that's
We
up.
usually get something like 2 million, so we got significantly more for COVID response.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comments?
None online, Commissioner.
Okay. Is there a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We stand.